All right, guys, so today we're talking about Porsche engine ticking. Now, engine ticking carries over from pretty much all mix and models, depends on the scenario. Obviously, here we do a lot of 987, 996 stuff, probably seem to be 997 and maybe 991. And the whole situation is, all these engines tick at some point in time or another. The question you all want to know is, can I fix it for free? What is the cause of the root problem? Is it going to damage my engine? And those are usually the variables I hear the most. Now, looking at the comments, this is a question that comes up very often, so I figured we address it. Now, starting off, the number one thing is cold start tick. Now, cold start tick can be a couple different things. Usually it's from sitting. All these cars have hydraulic lifters, all the water-cooled cars do. And the lifters actually they seep down, the oil goes out of them after the car sets for a while, after they're compressed, and it'll get dry. And it'll take a little bit of the car running to come back and be quiet. And 996, you see it all the time. And also 996 just has a little bit of a tick anyway. It's just the way the engine sounds. That's a very common thing. But what you're looking for is ticks that come and go. You're looking for ticks that get louder when the engine's warm. And those can be some of the worst because that could lead to bigger issues. Now, the very first thing people want to do is add additives to their car, to the engine oil. You can do that. That's not always the best thing to do. Depends on what you add. You have Lucas, you have many other additives you can buy in the store. They're very expensive. Do they do anything? Probably not. Let's be honest here. Unless you're driving an old Chevy, something like that, to where it's using large amounts of oil, that's probably not going to gain you anything. What it actually very well may do is hurt you a little bit. On all these cars we've been running 5W30, and most all of them, it seems like that's the happy medium. A lot of guys run 10W40. I've run that in the past. Some of these cars call from the factory 0W40. 0 is getting kind of thin. 5 gives you a little more protection. And 40 is for when it's really hot outside and engine's hot. So 5W40, we tend not to have much issue. If you go messing with the types of oils and thicknesses of oil, you could cause yourself oil separator problem. You could induce bore scoring, especially if you're in cold climate. You're starting the car, the oil is so thick it can't get moving through the engine correctly. A lot of guys go 15W50. I don't think you're gaining anything by that. Coming from the M5 world using 10W60, I think that probably caused more problems than what it saved with rod bearings and other issues. And you could have rod bearing problems in one of these cars, but it's not likely you're going to have that unless you start changing oils, start messing with stuff, or run it low on oil. That's another thing. Always check the oil in these cars, guys. These are all electronic cars. There's no dipsticks anymore. 996, yeah, but 987, 997 and up, there's no more dipsticks. So you have to check electronically. Before you start the car, you got to turn the key on, hit oil check on the instrument cluster and check it. As far as electronic oil level check, they've been pretty good on the Porsche stuff. That red Cayman I had was a little erratic when you check it. Even this car, slight variances of unevenness can make it look like it has a quart or half a quart more or half a quart less than what it actually does. And so the next question is, you guys have a lot of comments, is engine flush. If my 911 or Cayman or Boxer is ticking, should I put engine flush in it? The answer is probably not. Probably not. You're going to induce other issues if you do that. And it actually could make the ticking a lot worse. Those lifters are starting to suck in essentially diesel instead of oil. That's basically what engine flush is. Diesel and other additives. Are you going to clean the engine with engine flush and make it not tick? No, you're not. Absolutely not going to do that. if the engine is bad enough shape where it needs engine flush, you're already too late. You already need to take it out and take it apart and fix it. You know, that's a lot of the issues. I've seen a few points where injectors could cause a little bit of a tick, but that's pretty rare. Also, your timing chain guides can also be a cause of the ticking, getting raggedy and broken. Timing chain tensioner is another cause of ticking. Those are all things to check. You know, all those things you could go in with a stethoscope or long screwdriver. You can listen to all the tensioners. If you hear the ticking coming from that, it is that. Same with the injectors. On most of these cars, you can fish a long screwdriver down to the injector and listen to it and make sure all 6 injectors are ticking at the same loudness. If you ever have one that's ticking quieter or louder than the next one, I would replace those injectors. They're not expensive. They're $250 for a set of these for Bosch. If you have any question that's going on, replace it. Now, the worst scenario of the ticking is bore scoring. What bore scoring is going to sound like, it could be no tick or a slight tick at cold start. All right? As the car warms up, it's going to get louder. And essentially what's happening, the piston, the cylinder is getting scored, the piston's turning, cocking sideways in the cylinder and ovaling out the cylinder essentially. Now, bore scoring was all started by the NASCO coating on the cylinder walls. So they have essentially a soft steel cylinder wall, cylinder liner, and they have a hard coating sprayed on the outside of it. In theory, that will work. You know, and then you go back to old air-cooled stuff, and you go back to pre-2001 996 stuff that never really had bore scoring problems. Not to say they couldn't bore score, but that wasn't really a thing back then. And those are all steel liners with no coating. There's a huge debate on that. We'll do the video on that coming up on bore scoring. But that's the worst case scenario. The fortunate part of bore scoring is there is no cheap way out. If you can do all the work yourself, you're still going to be in it. I don't know. You're probably going to be in it $7-8 grand at least. At least. If you just take your engine somewhere and say, here, you do it. I don't know. It'd be 20 grand probably. It'd be some kind of insane number. Now, if you have a Cayman, you're kind of on the verge of not wanting to fix it at that price. But if you have a 911, you know, and it's low mileage, they're worth quite a bit of money. It may be worth fixing it and then selling it, or fixing it and keeping it. But there's a huge debate on whether re-sleeving stuff will fix it. Oh, Nathan didn't turn his phone off? Even better. So yeah, that whole situation is kind of another video type deal. And, you know, there is some slight issues with automatic transmission cars, with Tiptronics making a little bit of a thud noise. And that's not as common, but those engines do sound a little bit different, we notice. And then, of course, your exhaust header leaks can also can mimic an issue when there's actually not. The best thing I could tell you guys, if you have any kind of problem on any car, but especially these cars, don't wait. Don't wait. Immediately try to get it figured out. If you have to rely on a shop to do that, that's unfortunate for you because it's going to take a while to get the car to the shop. You have to bank that the guy in the shop's got to know what he's doing or know what he's talking about, which is getting to be pretty rare. And then you have to rely on them to fix it and fix the right thing and not try to fix the wrong thing. And there is that. Obviously, if you have any kind of crazy noise, the first thing to look at is all your belt tensioners and the water pump. And even the alternator. We've seen water pumps and alternators make crazy noise that mimic rod knock. And it was not. It was something as simple as an accessory going bad like the water pump, or even power steering pump. Some guys reported power steering pump bearing failures. Very rare, but not impossible, especially if you're at the car wash, and you're spraying high pressure water down in those things, and you can actually blow the grease out of the bearings. That's a fairly common thing too. 911s and different Porsche cars get washed a lot. That's a pretty common thing. And generally, they're pretty well taken care of. But one of these cars in the wrong hands can be a catastrophic failure. So hopefully this video helped a little bit to give you some insight on ticking. There is ways you can fix that and get away with costing you nothing. It all depends on what your root cause is. And it may just be the car needs to be driven. If the car's been sitting for a long time, every Porsche we start up has been sitting, ticks. The time we go drive it, usually go pretty easy. And then once it's warmed up good, you thrash it a little bit. Usually by the time you get back here, it's quieted down. So don't freak out. If you're getting ticking while the engine's hot, you could have a failed lifter. You could have bore scoring, and nobody wants bore scoring. That's going to be it, guys. Thanks for today's video. Hope you guys liked it. We'll be back very soon with more of these videos. Thanks for watching.